This book was written 50 years ago. And it was presented before Congress in the House of Representatives on January the 10th, 1963. And the book was actually written by a former FBI agent in Salt Lake City, and it was during this time that he wrote his famous book called The Naked Communist. This guy had inner knowledge of what was going on way back then about what communism was openly trying to get into the United States of America. He presents 45 goals for overthrowing the United States, overthrowing it in the sense of making it become communist. You tell me if this book that's 51 years old, written by a former FBI agent, if this book is not telling exactly the direction our country's going.
The very nature of what is taking place in the United States cannot be totally called communism, because it combines different types of political ideologies into one, but it can be summed up into one goal: divide and conquer. Over time, the eroding of American patriotism has led to democratic socialism, and now communism. After all, the goal of socialism, according to Vladimir Lenin, the goal of socialism is communism. During the 20th century, communism will be remembered as the mass murderer, and America will be remembered as the nation that played a large role in ridding the world of communism. However, during the 21st century, communism will be remembered as the force that drove America to the brink, and communism will be remembered as the new freedom. Our country is being destroyed by tyranny, and tyranny doesn't always come in the form of government rule. Rather, it can come in the form of education, social justice, media, technology, culture, science, and business. Take a look around today. Have a glance at the evening news, scroll your Facebook page, check your Twitter, turn on the radio, look at your church, and see clearly that the hammer and sickle have returned. Now let's go back, way back, to 1963 and see what was entered into congressional record by Congressman Albert S. Herlong, Jr. of Florida, and see if this doesn't depict exactly what's going on today. Number 1. The U.S. should accept coexistence as the only alternative to atomic war. Number 2. The U.S. should be willing to capitulate in preference to engaging in atomic war. Number 3. Develop the illusion that total disarmament by the U.S. would be a demonstration of moral strength. Number 4. Permit free trade between all nations, regardless of communist affiliation and regardless of whether or not items could be used for war. Number 5. Extend long-term loans to Russia and Soviet satellites. Number 6. Provide American aid to all nations regardless of communist domination. Number 7. Grant recognition of Red China and admission of Red China to the United Nations. Number 8. Set up East and West Germany as separate states, in spite of Khrushchev's promise in 1955 to settle the Germany question by free elections under the supervision of the UN. Number 9, prolong the conferences to ban atomic tests because the U.S. has agreed to suspend tests as long as negotiations are in progress. Number 10, allow all Soviet satellites individual representation in the United Nations. Number 11, promote the UN as the only hope for mankind. If its charter is rewritten, demand that it be set up as a one world government with its own independent armed forces. Number 12, resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. Number 13, do away with loyalty oaths. Number 14, continue giving Russia access to the U.S. Patent Office. Number 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the U.S. Number 16, use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. Number 17, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communism propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks. Number 18, get control of all student newspapers. Number 19, use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations that are under communist attack. Number 20, infiltrate the press. Get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, policy-making positions, Number 21, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. Number 22, continue discrediting American culture by degrading all form of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings, substituting shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms. Number 23, control art critics and directors of art museums. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art. Number 24, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. Number 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. Number 26, present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. Number 27, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. Number 28, eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the grounds that it violates the principle of separation of church and state. Number 29, discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. Number 30, discredit the American Founding Fathers, present them as selfish aristocrats who had no concern for the common man. Number 31, belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only a minor part of the big picture. Give more emphasis to Russian history since the communists took over. Number 32, support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. Number 33, eliminate all laws or procedures which interfere with the operation of the communist apparatus. Number 34, eliminate the House Committee on Un-American Activities. Number 35, discredit and eventually dismantle the FBI. Number 36, infiltrate and gain control of more unions. Number 37, infiltrate and gain control of big business. Number 38, transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat. Number 39, dominate the psychiatric profession and use mental health laws as a means of gaining coercive control over those who oppose communist goals. Number 40, discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Number 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. Attribute prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents. Number 42, create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition, that students and special interest groups should rise up and make a united force to solve economic, political, or social problems. Number 43, overthrow all colonial governments before native populations are ready for self-government. Number 44, internationalize the Panama Canal. Number 45, repeal the Connolly Reservation so the U.S. cannot prevent the World Court from seizing jurisdiction over domestic problems. Give the World Court jurisdiction over domestic problems. Give the World Court jurisdiction over nations and individuals alike. Regardless of the reality that the Soviet Union is no longer in existence, one cannot simply deny the reality that these goals are being accomplished today by an unseen large organization that is determined to overthrow America. Several events have taken place to bring America to this point, but as one may notice, not every goal on that list is complete. But one cannot deny that that unseen force hell-bent on world dominance is actively working to bring that list to completion, which will end in a one-world government. How did America get here? From the words of Yuri Bezmenov, demoralization is a fundamental part of their agenda. Demoralization takes decades. It is not something that happens overnight, but rather it can take 15 to 20 years for one generation to be fully submissive to the communist agenda.
Demoralization, it takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students